Some scandals weren't loud. They didn't make the front page or break the internet. They were quietly buried because they exposed too much, challenged the norm, or made Hollywood nervous. In this episode of Rainbow Spotlight, we're unearthing 5 LGBTQ+ stories the industry tried to silence. From erased teen heartthrobs to messy fallouts and behind-the-scenes betrayal, these are the moments that didn't just cause drama, they revealed the cost of being honest. And wait until you get to number 2. His story might change the way you look at fame forever, because these aren't just scandals. They're warnings. They're proof that queer visibility still comes with a price tag. Drop a fire if you believe truth shouldn't be treated like a threat. And tell us, where in the world are you watching from? The stories they buried? We're digging them up because they matter. Garrett Clayton, the Disney star who was told to stay in the closet or stay home. Garrett Clayton was the poster boy of Disney Channel's beachy teen dreams. With Teen Beach Movie in 2013, he became a heartthrob overnight, singing, dancing, and smiling like the next Zac Efron. But off-screen, there was a different story unfolding, one that Disney, and much of Hollywood, wanted him to keep quiet. Garrett was gay, and according to him, that was a problem. In interviews years later, Garrett revealed that once he landed the lead in the film, his team, agents, publicists, and execs, told him flat out, don't come out, don't mention your boyfriend, and definitely don't act too gay in interviews. He was even advised to change how he walked and spoke during press tours. The goal? Stay marketable, stay neutral, stay in. Behind the scenes, Garrett was in a serious relationship with now husband Blake Knight. But in public, he had to pretend to be single or straight, dodging questions and playing the part. The pressure took a toll. He later admitted that the stress of hiding his identity nearly destroyed his mental health. He was living 2 lives, the clean-cut, flirty Disney star on screen and the closeted, exhausted actor behind it. Garrett finally came out publicly in 2018, long after his Disney era had passed. And that's when the other part of the story emerged. Once he was out, the roles stopped coming. Despite his talent, looks, and musical training, Garrett struggled to land mainstream roles. He moved to indie projects, queer-themed content, and theater, spaces where he felt free but often underfunded. Hollywood didn't say you're banned. It just quietly stopped calling. To this day, fans argue that Garrett was sidelined for being open too soon in a system that still wants its leading men ambiguously available. His career didn't implode, but it was carefully rerouted. Less spotlight, less budget, less noise. The scandal isn't in one big headline, it's in the silence. The way queerness is tolerated only after its profit potential is gone. Garrett, for his part, has leaned into activism. He's spoken openly about conversion therapy, queer mental health, and the pressure young actors face to suppress themselves. He's not bitter, just brutally honest. And for fans who grew up watching him sing on screen, only to learn he had to hide the entire time, the betrayal doesn't come from Garrett. It comes from an industry that still rewards fiction over authenticity. Drop a 1 if you watched Teen Beach Movie and had no idea. Drop a wave emoji if you think Garrett deserved better. Because hiding who you are to stay employed, that's not a phase. That's a problem. Jonathan Bennett, Hollywood's favorite crush. Until he came out back in the early 2000s, Jonathan Bennett wasn't just another pretty face. He was the face, especially if you were a teen crushing on Aaron Samuels in Mean Girls. He had the hair, the smile, the charm. Studios saw him as a leading man in the making. But then, he vanished from the spotlight. No romantic comedy lead. No major Netflix resurgence. Just silence. Turns out Jonathan had a secret, and the industry didn't want it out. He was gay. And while Hollywood is full of rainbows on paper, back then it was clear. Be gay, but be quiet. According to Jonathan, multiple people in power warned him, don't confirm anything, you'll lose roles. Smile, flirt in interviews, but stay neutral. So he played the part, dated in secret, dodged questions, smiled through premieres with co-stars. By the time he finally came out in 2017, the door that had once been wide open was barely cracked. Producers no longer saw him as leading man material, and roles started to shift from potential love interest to background friend to nothing. Even when Mean Girls got rebooted, adapted, and milked for every nostalgic cent, it left him behind. The guy who made It's October 3rd iconic never got his sequel. Why? Because Aaron Samuels turned out to be gay, and apparently that made him less bankable. That's the scandal, not a headline, just the quiet, strategic erasure of a man who dared to live honestly. But Jonathan didn't disappear. He doubled down. He married his longtime partner, Jamie Vaughn, and became a vocal force for LGBTQ+ representation. He starred in Hallmark's first gay Christmas movie, a milestone he had to fight years for. He made space where there was none, and made peace with not being the heartthrob Hollywood once demanded, because now he gets to be something more powerful, himself. Drop a 2 if you still think Aaron Samuels deserved a full love story. Drop A if Jonathan inspired you to own your truth, even if it cost you something. PSA, your back called. It wants this chair. Bon moi l'homme too. Between long editing sessions and endless scripts, my back was over it. So I caved and bought the chair I now refuse to get out of. This oversized massage recliner is next level. Reclines to a perfect 165-degree nap angle. 8 targeted vibration zones, back, lumbar, thighs, legs. 2 heat levels to melt. Lower back tension. Lift assist motor for smooth stand-ups, and a leather finish that's breathable, not sticky. It doesn't just look good, it feels like a spa day wrapped in a hug. Honestly, it's the only reason my posture hasn't filed for divorce. Curious? Check the link in the description. You deserve comfort that works as hard as you do. Grayson Chance, from viral prodigy to industry ghost. In 2010, a 12-year-old Grayson Chance sat at a piano in his school auditorium and performed Lady Gaga's Paparazzi. The video went viral overnight. Ellen DeGeneres called. A record label was signed. The world said, "Meet the next Justin Bieber." And then, he disappeared. Grayson's story isn't one of scandalous behavior. It's about how fast the industry chews up queer talent when they no longer fit the image it wants to sell. After signing to Ellen's now-defunct label, 1111, Grayson recorded, toured, and pushed through puberty under a microscope. But once his numbers dipped, Ellen and her team reportedly stopped calling, stopped showing up, stopped supporting. Years later, Grayson came out publicly as gay in 2017 and said the industry's silence during his transition from child star to young queer man was deafening. In a now viral Rolling Stone interview, he said, "I've never met someone more manipulative, self-centered, and blatantly opportunistic than Ellen." He alleged that she was deeply involved in the early stages, controlling image, schedule, even decor in his home, but ghosted him once the spotlight faded. The machine that created him just shut off. Worse, Grayson revealed that when he began writing personal, vulnerable music as a gay man in his late teens, he was told by execs that it was too niche, too emotional, too specific, too gay. Sound familiar? His 2019 album Portraits was critically praised but barely promoted. His comeback tour? Entirely independent. It wasn't until TikTok rediscovered his paparazzi video and fans started asking, "What happened to this guy?" that the narrative shifted again. Grayson's story isn't just about Ellen. It's about how easily queer artists, especially young men who don't stay marketable, are dropped, forgotten, or rewritten out of the industry's golden child narrative. Drop a 3 if you were one of the people wondering where he went. Drop a piano if you still get chills from that performance. Today, Grayson continues to write, perform, and speak out. He's taken full control of his story and isn't afraid to call out the silence that once swallowed him. Because being exploited isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a door that closes quietly while the world forgets you ever opened it. Sam Smith. Too queer, too bold, too fast for the mainstream. When Sam Smith first broke onto the scene in 2014 with Stay With Me, the world saw them as the next Adele. Software soulful, safe. They were embraced by mainstream audiences and praised for bringing queer identity, quietly, into pop ballad territory. But when Sam stopped fitting that narrative, the love turned fast. After coming out as non-binary in 2019, changing their pronouns to they, them, and shifting their image to something bolder, more fluid, and unapologetically queer, the backlash hit like a tidal wave. Tabloids mocked their outfits. Comment sections misgendered them relentlessly. Even former fans said things like, "I liked them better before." The media that once called them brave for coming out as gay now labeled them attention-seeking for leaning into self-expression. When Sam danced in heels, embraced body positivity, or sang about queer sex and desire, they were suddenly too much. The peak of the backlash came with the release of Unholy in 2022. The video, featuring religious symbolism, latex, and a celebration of queer nightlife, sent conservative media into meltdown. But it wasn't just them. Even some progressive fans claimed Sam had gone off the rails. Others said they were ruining their legacy or that the music used to be classy. Let's be clear, Sam Smith didn't become more queer. They became less apologetic. And that, for much of the industry, was a step too far. Behind the scenes, it got worse. Multiple venues and brands quietly pulled out of sponsorships. Some music award shows reportedly avoided nominating Sam despite commercial success. A few global TV appearances were canceled, officially for creative differences, but insiders whispered about discomfort with Sam's new image. It's the oldest story in entertainment. We'll celebrate you when your queerness is soft, sad, or silent. But when it's proud, sexy, loud, we panic. And yet, Sam never backed down. They've since leaned harder into joy, desire, gender expression, and artistic risk. Their live shows are more queer than ever. Their fashion bolder, their message louder. And for every critic who turned away, a wave of young queer fans finally felt seen. Drop a 4 if Unholy was a turning point for you too. Drop a mic if you think Sam deserves more than headlines. They deserve history. Because the real scandal isn't in what Sam wore. It's in how quickly people stopped clapping the second they changed the script. George Michael, the arrest that outed a legend and freed him anyway. Before Ricky Martin, before Sam Smith, there was George Michael. Silky voice, global stardom, sex appeal dialed to 100. In the 80s and early 90s, George Michael wasn't just a pop star, he was the pop star. With hits like Faith and Careless Whisper, he built a multi-platinum empire off his charm, songwriting, and magnetic stage presence. He also built it while staying firmly closeted. Behind the scenes, George was navigating his sexuality in an era when coming out meant career suicide, especially for someone whose image was sold as a straight heartthrob. So he kept his truth buried until 1998, when a scandal forced it into the light. George was arrested in a public restroom in Beverly Hills for lewd conduct. The tabloids went into feeding frenzy mode. Paparazzi followed him. Talk shows mocked him. Overnight, George went from icon to punchline. But here's what makes this story different. He didn't hide. He didn't apologize for being gay. He came out, proudly, publicly, and immediately. He even joked about it in his next music video, Outside, which featured disco balls in urinals and cops in leather. It was bold, camp, and totally defiant. Still, the damage had been done. Radio stations dropped him. Brands pulled back. Major U.S. media began framing him as troubled rather than trailblazing. Even years later, interviews focused more on his arrest than his activism, musicianship, or personal battles with grief and addiction. The industry never fully forgave him for shattering the illusion of the straight, safe pop star. But the fans, they came back. Because George didn't just survive the scandal, he turned it into fuel. He used his platform to support HIV/AIDS awareness, LGBTQ+ youth organizations, and challenged the hypocrisy of celebrity culture. And yet, when he passed in 2016, many mainstream outlets barely acknowledged how important he was to queer history. His queerness was once again sanitized or footnoted, like it was a side detail, not a revolution. Drop a 5 if George Michael changed how you saw yourself. Drop a headphone emoji if you've cried to Jesus to a child at least once. Because what they tried to make his lowest moment, he turned into his loudest truth. George wasn't a scandal. He was freedom with a microphone. Some scandals weren't loud. They didn't make the front page or break the internet. They were quietly buried because they exposed too much, challenged the norm, or made Hollywood nervous. In this episode of Rainbow Spotlight, we're unearthing 5 LGBTQ+ stories the industry tried to silence. From erased teen heartthrobs to messy fallouts and behind-the-scenes betrayal, these are the moments that didn't just cause drama. They revealed the cost of being honest. And wait until you get to number 2. His story might change the way you look at fame forever. Because these aren't just scandals, they're warnings. They're proof that queer visibility still comes with a price tag. Drop a if you believe truth shouldn't be treated like a threat. And tell us, where in the world are you watching from? The stories they buried? We're digging them up because they matter.